Mmm. Mm-hmm. That's some BS. That's some right BS. Now I knew after this episode walking in, I didn't know when 10 through 12 would come out, that this was the last episode of Zom 100 for weeks, months, a year? Who the hell knows? But even though I know this wasn't planned from the start, that this wasn't supposed to be a cliffhanger for longer than a week if all things went according to plan, the fact that you casually set up Akira's father dying, was that a zombie bite? Was that a wound from something else? Either way, he doesn't have long to live. You set up the anti-Akira, who basically is a very similar mindset to that of our MC, but rather than going just, I'm gonna live life casually because I'm finally free to enjoy life, we have the opposite side, kind of like the yin to his yang of just being like, screw people, let's have chaos just control the world. And the fact that we leave this episode with the uncertainty of what happens to this village that is so cut off from everything, that it should be you should be able to live your final days out here if all things go according to plan. And they end the episode, and we have no idea how long it's going to be. Maybe the cards will be dealt in our favor, and next month sometime we'll get episode 10, and then the month after that, maybe 11. I don't know. But the fact that the cards were stacked so against Psalm 100, yes, the episodes we got were fantastic, and they were quality. I think the extra delays definitely saved the episodes that we ended up getting. But the fact that this is an unnecessary cliffhanger does have me mad salty, because this was one of the best anime of this season. And it was so just done so dirty because of the BS that is anime production. Holy hell, I need episode 10. I need it ASAP, because that is not fair for a cliffhanger. Full live reaction episode 9 and all these episodes that have been released so far, available on my Patreon. If you would like to see live reactions of those, they're over there if you're interested. Now, like I said, this is a good episode. It's fantastic. It has me probably more eager for an arc than anything that's come before. They even have fun with tree houses. Like, this was a good episode, but I'm salty, and I feel like I can't be the only one just leaving this episode. Like, I just imagine there's going to be so many people who just move on to the manga right now, because they're going to say, no way am I waiting for this, because that's some BS. But I will say, this episode had structure, it had pacing, and it hits on a note that you don't see a lot of with this type of media, because usually if this does happen, it's kind of right at the start of a zombie apocalypse. Oh my god, thinking about all the things I never got to say or do, and now it's too late. Akira was the complete opposite. He was just running through the streets enjoying zombie life, and now he has to come to terms that he wasn't really the greatest son. You know, he was a farmer's kid, and the farmer was trying to tell him, like, are you sure you want to go into the big city? Is this really what you want? And he basically said, screw you, Dad, I'm my own person, and didn't talk with them for 3 years. And we see that his life was not sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. It was hell, he was a corporate slave, and his father was right. So he understandably pushes off the reunion when he discovers a tree fort. I think it's a mixture of, honestly, that childlike wonder of, oh my god, we're gonna have the best tree fort ever, but also fearing that we're getting closer and closer to me having to, take the blame and have to apologize, and he doesn't want to do that. So we get some pretty cute moments, and honestly, they made a mad clever tree fort. The only thing that's wrong with it, because it's a zombie apocalypse, is they shouldn't have a ladder that stays there because zombies can climb. It should be like a rope ladder or a retractable ladder, just so that they're able to, absolutely protect themselves. But the dude, he has a sad story. He had to kill his wife and kid because they turned into a zombie, and he ultimately builds one hell of a tree fort. And it was really cute seeing the two boys just kind of feel like little boys with their dad building their dream fort. And when we start progressing finally to the village, that's where I was like, oh man, I was convinced that what they were going to do is there was going to be a dirty cliffhanger. But I thought what was going to happen was we were going to spend a majority of this episode with this older man, and we would get to the village, they would look out, it would be burnt down, or it would look like when they initially walked in, they were worried that there was no one there, and then the episode would cut. Like maybe they'd open a door, there'd be a shocked face, and then cut. And then we'd have to wait who knows how long for episode 10. Them all being okay isn't a shocker, but I figured they were going to cliffhanger us in that way. And instead, we open up, I wasn't sure what I was seeing, I wasn't sure if this was the village orgy, they were dancing around half naked, and Dad comes in, punches him. Honestly, I'm surprised he didn't give him a concussion. And obviously, it's a awkward situation. Akira's trying to be very helpful to the both of them, and basically Mom's like, listen, you don't have to try so hard. Like, she's probably not as mad as the dad is, and the dad doesn't really seem like, usually in these types of situations, I feel like they're so strict to the point that you understand why you push back against him. Here, it just kind of feels like he was a stricter parent, but he had a lot of logic on his head, like on his shoulders, right? He had a good head on his shoulders, just a lot of logic. You sure this is what you want? This kind of seems rash. And they just butted head because they were two very different people. And the idea that he has that cut on his hand, is that a zombie bite? Did he get zombie blood in his wounds? I don't know, but either way, he's saying he doesn't have a whole lot of time left to live. And we have 4 scumbags who made it into this village. Now, what's interesting about this kind of shark teeth man is that when you do look at the beginning of this show with Akira running through the zombie apocalypse, it's pretty messed up. I mean, you can't argue that. Like, someone being happy the world ended is usually pretty clinically insane, but we understand where he was coming from for a pure happiness point, not because he was happy people died. But it's so interesting seeing how just a slight deviation from that mindset makes someone look at like an absolute psychopath. The planes falling down, girls being killed in the alleyway, and he's just smiling, grabbing the cigarettes. And the first woman that he talks with is pretty much just like, screw my boss. I'm like, okay, the first two, they're not the most like evil looking, but then one dude's like, I'm gonna force my tongue down someone's throat. I'm gonna slap my bitch. And I'm like, this is a bad group. And the fact that they made it in, I don't know if they're going to start killing. I'm not sure if they're going to start forcing themselves on people. But either way, they are chaos in the making, and apparently next episode is a part 1. So we're probably getting at least 2 episodes more for this village arc. I'm not sure if they'll use the whole thing, because up to that point, I was thinking, why would you even leave this village, right? Like, this is literally, it's perfectly secluded. You can grow your own food. This is where you'd want to be in a zombie apocalypse. So if things do fall apart, I can understand maybe why that forces them away, or maybe it's going to just simply be they do protect it, but Akira decides he still has his life to live. I don't know. But it was a dirty cliffhanger. It was an unintentional cliffhanger for more than 7 days, but damn, what could have been if we had all these episodes air this season. Anime production, please change. Please get better than where you're at. And you know, even with all these delays, I still have to say this is one of my favorite things I've experienced in zombie media in so long. It's just so refreshing. Like, sometimes you'll be like, okay, yeah, I've seen the zombies in a tunnel route, but the fact that you can go up above like normally level-headed people will, and you discover a dude building a tree fort, that is something in a type of humor and a type of lightheartedness you don't see a lot of, especially given that they do walk a fine line between being silly but then also having that serious subject matter. In Zom 100, you know, unlike anything we've really seen in anime ever, it just was such a unique and refreshing experience, and hopefully the last few episodes will get that quality that they deserve. I have nothing but respect for the team who are pouring their hearts out on this, and I just wish they had a better production committee that didn't force them to do BS schedules. But let me know your thoughts on this week's episode and the final episode for now of Zom 100, A Bucket List of the Dead. And what do you hope to see with this arc going forward? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell, especially because we don't know when I'm coming back up here to talk about Zom 100, so you want to get notified when I do. And like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction to all these episodes over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have So Logiki, Spectra, Squealatin, Steelwater, and Stephen Thomas. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.